topic, and we got a very special guest with us as we're going to go down and take a look at or up, I don't know which way it is, at the Pacific Division. Last time I was on, I had Zach the Max, and we went through the Central position, the Central. Not last time I was on, but we did do the Central Division with Zach the Max. Go check that one out. It's fantastic. We got Jim here, fresh off of Sirius radio spot today. Was it today that you did that, or was it yesterday?
They all intertwined. I think it was last Friday I was on with Jake and Victoria, but I was on with the great Mick Kern throughout the summer as well. So I appreciate them. Appreciate being here, Pearlo. We've talked hockey before. Seems like you and I have a brain that might be one. I don't know.
It's crazy. Anybody that's watching right now, I will literally be surprised. I found somebody that is on the same wavelength as I am on just about everything. Because I'm quite often on an island on most things, and that's the reason why I reached out to you, because I just found it fascinating that every topic that came up, I kept on going, "Get out of here! No way!" Exactly the same in everything we do. So I was going to go to individual topics, but it might get a little boring hearing the same echo back and forth over and over and over again. Maybe we can mix it up when we look at the divisions and the teams and stuff like that, and what they did in the off season. So it's the Pacific Division is had some pretty interesting things happen. There's some pretty big moves, of course, in Anaheim with the offer sheet of their big Carlson, and Edmonton that we will talk about first, which is a continuance from the last program when Larry was on. We went on about an hour with Edmonton, and
I'm surprised that show's still not going, because Edmonton's a hot topic these days.
Yeah, man. And we had different opinions. Larry and I are not the same that way. We're quite often on different sides of things, but which makes it interesting. But I said a lot on it, so I will, aka the pillow fight division. The pillow fight, that was what we had last time we were on, Larry. That's Larry right there. A pillow fight over the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers, of course, big thing you probably want to get into, but not only into, but I'll ask this question. Are the Edmonton Oilers as better as last year than a lot of fans and media in Edmonton seem to think that they are? And of course, you can start with it if you want. We got to get into the Babcock signing, right?
I mean, look, are they better than they were last year? Where did they improve? Tell me where they improved, because I still want to know how this team's going to play team defense. And look, Mike Babcock, we know what he can do. You're going to get the whole package. That's what he said in his press conference. The players want accountability, this, that, and the other thing, right? We want somebody to keep us accountable. Maybe a little less ice time. You heard that from Connor McDavid, right? Hyman's preached Babcock because he played for him in Toronto. But I want to know where the recent success has been outside of these all-star teams that Mike Babcock's coached in the National Hockey League. Hasn't won a playoff series since 2013. Hasn't been to a Stanley Cup final since 2009. Hasn't won since 2008. Look, and Larry's bringing up Dickinson, and you're bringing up Connor Murphy, right? Those signings for Stan Bowman, he had to get done. He had to keep those players for what he gave up. And to me, if they're going back to the same old 97 and 29, and everybody's like, oh, well, you can bet against the Edmonton Oilers. You can bet against the Edmonton Oilers. What have they done recently that says they can get back to a Stanley Cup final? Because to me, their goaltending is not improved. Frederik Andersen was protected by Carolina. He does not have the same defense in Edmonton. Darnell Nurse is not there anymore. I just see this team is not as good as it was.
Well, okay, we could be a little bit different here. I think it's very similar. I do think Mukhamadullin is a step up from what they had in their bottom six before. I do like Mukhamadullin. But in Shea, I think that's Nurse. I mean, it's the same kind of player.
But is Shea going to be what he was in Pittsburgh, or is he going to be is he going to take a step back? like a lot of these guys, when they change teams, look, I think, what they did, Dan Muse did a heck of a job in Pittsburgh last year, and a lot of guys outperformed what they were last year in Pittsburgh. Again, it comes down to 200 feet from 97, 29, and everybody else. I go back to what Leon Draisaitl said at the end of the season. They're not as deep as they were in 2024. That was their best team. And when guys like Draisaitl are rattling off McLeod, the CCs, Desharnais, he goes down a list of players that aren't there anymore. Broberg, Holloway. I just don't know. If you're hoping for Matt Savoy to take another step, I mean, is this team really as good as the pundits think they are, as the betting market thinks it is? Because there's a lot of competition in that division.
Right. I'm kind of with you on this. I don't think they're as good as people are saying. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just like every time I look at the betting market, it's like, oh, they're a contender. I'm like, why? Because they went to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals in 2024 and 2025, and look, they got to Game 7 in 2024. You can argue it probably should have been over in 4 games, 5 games. Then they got the doors blown off of them in the following year. So, I mean, and then they didn't even compete. Look, here's the thing. Edmonton took the regular season lightly last year, whether they want to admit it or not, and they couldn't turn it on in the playoffs against a better Anaheim team.
I think they were just what McDavid said, and I said it before the season started. They're an average team. I didn't follow it up with the high expectations things. McDavid is absolutely correct. He didn't say they played average and they were better than average. He said they were an average team with high expectations. When were the expectations started? Before the season started.
Last offseason, once they lost.
He was saying it was average right from the get-go. My problem has always been the bottom. I don't think Podkolzin should be a top 6 at best. Like, I love the guy, hard worker, great 3 left wing. Wow, awesome. I'd love to have him down there. And I agree with you, Savoy. Does he make the jump this year? I mean, he collected most of his points when it was pond hockey at the end of the year, right? He did a lot of that. And is he going to be able to play top comp? I love Dickinson. He's one of the best shutdown centers in the game. Doesn't get enough credit. I do love it. Can he stay healthy? Because he's been not doing that for quite some time. And if you lose him, you basically have the same bottom 6. And we're going to find out what Knobloch already knew. They were saying, why don't you play the guys more? Because they're not good, dude. That's why.
That's because they lost so much of their bottom 6 from that 2024 Cup run when they were able to run 4 lines and McDavid didn't have to be out there, killing, being a faceoff guy late in games to hold on to leads. Like, this team is just offensively, everything still goes through that top line. And is Isaac Howard going to be like taking a step for this team? There's a lot of question marks, and it starts with the coach because, again, what did he do in Toronto?
Yeah, not much.
With an average team in Toronto, too. And you can make the argument the Maple Leafs are a better team.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard his interviews about what he plans on doing. He says high pressure, but his big thing is making sure you have energy in the D zone. You know what what he's talking about there is almost a 1-3-1. He doesn't want his offensive players burning out in the offensive zone and not being able to get back, or not being in their spots in the neutral. And this is talking either 1-3-1 or some sort of hybrid man-on-man system that he's planning on putting in there. And it's Knobloch wanted to do that too. He did because with the main guys he did, but he couldn't. The guys in the bottom 6 didn't know how to play it. Either didn't know how to, were too young to, or just not able. And if that's
Woodcroft had that same problem too. Woodcroft had the same problem too. He tried to do a man-on-man, and it didn't work, and that got him fired.
Yeah, and he had really bad goaltending, Woodcroft, too. That was just freaking brutal. And I agree. I didn't chime in on the goaltending. We talked about it in the last time. It's iffy, man. It's iffy at best. Jari is going to be in the minors. They really got to hope that kid Levi does some shit there, because I think if he's not, and you're going to be relying on Anderson, who, like you accurately said, and we talked about last time, you aren't in this ain't Carolina anymore, man.
No,
Your
dude.
22 shots a night is not going to be likely the case here.
If
Yeah,
22 shots a night. If 22 shots. If 22 shots. Look, other places I went out on bold. I went out on the bold on a limb. Somebody asked me bold take. I said Oilers no playoffs. Like, it's a real, like, the more I look at it and research it, it's not as crazy as people think, because can this team pick this thing up quickly? Can you pick up a Mike Babcock system real quick? And if you're talking
that's
about
a good point.
And like, if you're talking a 1-3-1, like, you're asking McDavid to play a 1-3-1, really?
Yeah, I think he's capable of playing very good defensively. But
I know he's capable of it. Draisaitl is too. But you're expecting these guys to take less minutes. And what's going to happen when you need goals? Is it going to be the same old? We got to put 97 and 29 out there again.
It's not gonna happen. I just really, it's not with. I mean, especially if Dickinson gets injured, no coach within his right mind is playing that bottom
this roster,
six more than
Sam
12
Bowman
minutes.
has not improved this roster over 2 off seasons. I'm sorry, he just hasn't.
So, anyways, yeah, I'm pretty much, here we are again, pretty much with you all the way here. I do think they make the playoffs myself. I just think it's such a weak division that they'll be able to capitalize on a lot of play. But I mean, Vegas, Anaheim, are they better than LA? Probably. I think that
are they better than San Jose?
No, maybe not. I mean, except that Celebrini kid.
I mean, that team's pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
They're only getting better. I mean, that team's only getting better.
Yeah, that Celebrini kid. I'm not putting my money against him for his career, probably. No. He's my Crosby now, where it's just like, and McDavid is that too. Let's face it.
I mean,
you take any center in the league, replace him with McDavid, like say McKinnon or whatever, and put them in Edmonton. I don't think they've made a final.
McDavid carried this team to 2 finals. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, and I'll say this to Larry's point. I go to the coaching because I'll say this. They want accountability. They didn't want Knobloch there, this, that, and other thing. What was the issue playing defense under McClellan, Tippett, Woodcroft, Hitchcock, guy won a Stanley Cup? Like, play team defense and you'll be successful. Like,
if you got the guys that can do it.
If you get the guys that can do it. I just don't know if Edmonton has those guys. I'm being
honest. I know Larry
here.
brought this up before, and I've heard this narrative before. They're all praising him. All right. Okay. Well, that's easy to do. You know.
July.
Exactly. He hasn't. And I talked about this with Babcock. When I've looked back at his career, even when he was in Detroit, Babcock is great until things start going south. Once things start going south, he starts taking his anger, his egotistical anger out on certain players and bullying the crap out of people and just saying weird stuff and doing weird stuff. And that's when this is going to really test the waters of where they're going to go, because you're going to need somebody like Hyman to tell whoever he decides to latch onto and bully the crap out of, which is probably going to be the bottom 6 guys. You're going to have to tell them,
guys.
Yeah, and the young guys. And he's probably going to go. Hyman's going to have to be there saying, look, he's a brilliant guy. Just let it go. Just don't worry about it. He's a little crazy. We all understand that. And somebody's going to have to smooth that over. And maybe Hyman figures he's that guy because he did play with him before. And that could end up being okay. Because I think like Cassidy's a similar type of guy. When he was with Bergeron and them, that's what Bergeron would do to when Cassidy started, because he's a bully asshole, like dickhead. I'm not talking about hard on players. This guy is a complete prick. And He had Bergeron in them there that would calm the waters. As soon as they left, bam, he's gone. Not long after that. So they're going to need to have that. All right. I think we got Edmonton. You said, if you're a betting man, I can understand you taking them to miss the playoffs at what, plus 400 or 350 or whatever it might be, because there's so many things that could go completely south here.
And you're not even factoring in injuries.
Yeah, injuries. Yeah, exactly. Then who comes up for them?
Right. Who's in their farm system?
We didn't talk about Howard. I don't know. This kid does he's got tons of talent, drive to the net type stuff, but he doesn't have the mind for a full game. Like I just can't see Babcock warming up to this kid.
No, absolutely not. No, no way. No chance, man. No chance.
Yeah, I agree. So that's a guy that's probably not going to be able to play much. And, there's not too much in the minors there. So there's ways this could crater. This is Anderson gets hurt. That kid and Jari has to come up and take most of and the kid doesn't turn out to be what he is. Now they've got worse goaltending than they had before. Right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Stan Bowman has not improved this team. Again, I go back to 2024, my last point on the Oilers, July 1st, 2024. If you knew you were moving on from Kenny Holland and you knew you wanted Stan Bowman, you should have just let Ken Holland stay, then let him run there. But again, the yo-yo of Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, they didn't have a direction. Those are kids you could use now, players. I just didn't understand not keeping Broberg, especially how weak defensively this team is, how well he played in that final. He was only progressing. You can find guys like Holloway around, but to lose Broberg and not replace him, I'm sorry, not good enough.
I think Broberg actually wanted out. And
I think a lot of those guys wanted out too because of the yo-yo, but again.
And Holloway, you cannot, for whatever that was per mil, I don't know what happened there, but maybe the owner, what's his name, Cates, got mad because they did that. Like, he's sort of an emotional dude and said,
yeah, but
they don't want to be here, blah, 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 or something. I do not understand how you don't match that. No, I do not understand.
Look, that's the Edmonton Oilers for you right now. This is the position they're in, and now they got to figure it out, and let's see what happens.
All right. So from there, we'll go. Well, let's go to we might as well go to the big. Made it to the finals last year. Vegas Golden Knights losing Dorofeyev. You can. I have a couple questions I'll have for you about this, and then you can move on and go deeper into it. But the one thing I have a question of, and I really don't know if I have too solid of an answer. What was this love affair with Anderson? Can you tell me? Can you kind of maybe you got some insight on that I'm not aware of? But Vegas, I know we lost a couple. They hated Cassidy last year. They absolutely despised him. Do you see that maybe something may be actually they could be better this year, or what do you figure about Vegas and the new coach if you know anything about him at all?
Yeah, Ryan Craig. He's done well in Henderson, right? Like he's done well with their AHL team, the Silver Knights. From my intel, I think this was the guy they wanted all along, but they didn't want to throw him into the fire right away. Like they wanted to have him, just finish out the season where he was, and that's why they brought Torts in. And they got all the way to the final. And I'll say it again: if they don't lose, game 2, they're probably walking to the Stanley Cup in 4 games or 5 games, because that was an inexcusable loss to Carolina in game 2. 2-0, 10 minutes left. Like you got to figure out a way to win that game. Appreciate the comments. Thank you so much. And look, I'll say this, Vegas to me, I think they'll be okay. We kind of saw it with the Glenn Gullickson hire in Dallas. Dallas really didn't miss a beat because of the pieces that are there. I think they'll figure it out. And again, he has a training camp to really install systems, and the players know who he is. He's been around the team. He was an assistant, I believe, there with Cassidy. So the guys know him. He won a cup there as an assistant coach. So this has been he's been biding his time. The organization has wanted him to be the guy, the next guy in line. I want to see how Anderson bounced back because he really didn't have a great second half of the playoffs. Logan Stankoven really happened because I was at the game and then made it 2-1. But again, Vegas to me, he's got to be better defensively. It feels like to me, and I know Vegas never cares about the outside world, and I know Kelly McCrimmon doesn't care about the outside world, but this feels like the league was watching Vegas and Anderson for a while, and they knew he wanted to go there. He denied he was the only team he wanted to go to, and it was really surprising it took this long for the contract to get done. It was just waiting in a desk. Maybe they were just making sure there was no tampering, like trying to get past that point.
Oh, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. With me, it was just, I don't think good that you dropped Dorofeyev for him. I would have rather have signed Dorofeyev, but I guess they didn't. He's going to get $11 million with the Rangers.
They didn't want to go to $11 million with Dorofeyev.
Maybe the number he was talking. Yeah, that's probably why. Right? Yeah, of course. But
they didn't want to pay him 11
anyways,
sheets. They didn't want to pay him 11
that
sheets.
being said, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, Anderson's not a terrible defenseman by any stretch. He had a brutal year defensively last year, but he was in Calgary. You got those kind of forwards and stuff like that. He was never really that solid of a guy that way to begin with, but he does usually play drive. He just really had not a great year last year, but they believe him. I know him and Hanny there, and Noah Hannafin, they were good friends in Calgary, and I think that might have a lot to do with why, because they apparently gave him a verbal promise when they grabbed him that they were going to sign him. So could be a lot of reasons, but the defense is good. Parker Witherspoon, that was an excellent pickup.
That's a great pickup by them.
Yeah. And Jeremy Lauzon, there's nothing wrong with him in the 3 spot. I mean, they're on defense. I think they're fine. You didn't really get into it a little bit, but I think they're actually going to be better than last year because I really do believe that, like, I heard it from so many places, and Jonathan Davis was a fellow that's on my betting show all the time and reporter and on Sirius Radio, right, too. So he said that he got text messages, or one at least, from a player that said Cassidy admitted that he hated going to the rink. Like, they despise this dude. Apparently, he said some stuff after the playoffs were over last year in the exit things that really, I don't know what he said, man, but they hated him on the exit interviews, didn't want him back, and he came back, and I just think it just ruined their energy. They just didn't. I think this team is way better than they showed last year.
Well, it's clear they got to a Stanley Cup final. So it's clear that they're better than what they showed. I think they just ran out of steam, and they ran into a good Carolina team that knew how to play defense. And I think Torts was very stubborn in his coaching last year, especially with the goaltending. Carter Hart ran out of steam at the end of the playoffs. Should have moved to try to Aiden Hill at some point. You saw what it did with Carolina and Brandon Bussey, brought him to a cup. Anderson was hurt, so they had no choice. But again, I'm interested to see what their, like, how they manage their cap, because, like, all you heard in the offseason is potentially about an Aiden Hill trade or a Thomas Hertl trade or something, because in order to get guys to be signed and under the cap, they have to move money. It's just an interesting team. This team goes in all year. They don't really have, and again, Dorofeyev was one of their guys, I believe, third rounder. They don't really have, like, a lot of their own guys on their team. It's pretty much trades, and obviously that's what happens when the expansion draft. But a lot of their team is built around guys they acquired.
Yeah, Trevor Connolly probably will get a really good shot there, but you're right. I mean, there's not too much. Ron Berg, Raphael Lavoie. Injuries happen with them. It certainly could be an issue, no doubt about that. They did go out and get Olofsson, who's a decent fill-in guy. But I think they're going to be better in the regular season, is what I was really trying to point
Yeah,
out.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And whoever you plug with Eichel and Marner and those guys will be fine. I mean, like you see what Dorofiev did with those guys with Eichel and Marner, like and Stone. Like you could put anybody. Like Olofson's a perfect fit for those guys. He could pump in 30 if he needed to.
Certainly 20.
At least 20. At least 20,
Yeah.
right?
And Howden, his lotto ticket, Marner, there on his way. How many passes has he's got?
And don't forget, now you got Carlson. I don't. I mean, he did get hurt.
Carlson's in for a full year. Yeah, hopefully.
Well, I mean, hopefully. I mean, like I know he had that injury in the Stanley Cup final, so
Yeah.
I don't know if he's. I think he might miss the start of the year. I have to take an update on that, but like still, they were missing him for a little bit.
Might be one of the top 3 defenses in the league, though. And
Yeah.
Carter Hart. Going back to the playoffs, Carolina with rest is very hard to beat. Like if they're tired, you could start taking them.
Yeah.
And Vegas had how many players that played in the Olympics with condensed schedule and everything? Like that was the big thing for me. Stone, Eichel,
Marner.
Yeah, it's Anderson, Shea
Hannafin.
Theodore,
Hannafin, I think, played, right?
Hannafin, yeah. Like so many guys were played in the Olympics, and it was that condensed schedule. They just burnt out, and
yeah,
I got to keep that in my memory bank for any other condensed schedules.
We'll get one next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not this upcoming year, but the 2028 World Cup year.
World Cup year. That'll probably be in North America, though, so that won't be quite so. But it's still going to be a thing.
Well, on the North American side, yes, but for the guys that play for other countries like Finland and Sweden, there is a European bracket to the World Cup. So guys that are Czech-born, Finnish-born, Sweden-born, they're going to be playing over the pond, and then they got to come over here. So It's a lot of travel.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a lot of travel. So,
but that's a couple seasons.
That's 2 seasons from now. Yeah. This is going to be a little different. I think this team easily makes the playoffs.
No doubt.
Not a problem at all. Whether they can do the same thing they did last year, they gotta. Being in the Pacific, it can make it a little easier if you end up on the top there. But
they were almost out in the first round, though. If Utah knew how to close out games.
Yeah, and Utah's gonna be a way. Well, we talked about in the Central.
I like Utah this year in the Central. I'm a big fan of Utah. Big fan of Utah this year.
Me too. I have a little bit on them to win the division. I'm not saying they are going to, but I think it's a good enough price that Colorado could fade, just kind of sit guys down the stretch. Dallas, I'm not as high on Dallas as a lot of people are. And Minnesota, if they don't get the Larkin deal done, I don't think it's outlandish to think that Utah could win the division in that there for the price you're getting. So, all right, now we're going to go to the Hockey Geek teams, if I like to call them.
Yes.
Vancouver Canucks. That's I mean, forget about positioning. What positives can you take from some of the things they've done moving forward with management, new coaches, and all of those things, and the direction that the Vancouver Canucks are going? Do you think that they made some good decisions based on the fact that they were going nowhere?
Yes. I mean, obviously you had to get rid of Jim Rutherford. I don't know, like there's just some taboo that says you can't criticize general managers that have done stuff. Like he didn't do anything in Vancouver. He was horrible for the team every year. And you talk to people in Vancouver, they'll say the same thing. Every year the roster was not complete. So what was your offseason for when you're trying to reshape your roster like 10 games into the season? It didn't make any sense. The trades they made, the contracts that they had, it felt like it was a Jim Rutherford show and everybody else was just on board. And it felt like Vancouver and New York Rangers were tied together because they were in the same directionless. They were going nowhere. Like what's going on? Like what's the plan? What's Ryan Johnson and the Sedins going to do? They want to rebuild. They want to reset the culture. We're moving out players. Like they moved out Marcus Pedersen. They brought in Gallagher, which is fine. He's from there. You got 1 year left on your deal. You knew he was always going back there, right? But you moved out Nils Hoglander, guys like that. Like what's going to happen with Elias Pettersson? I like the things that they've done. They're drafting better. Like Manny Malhotra's in there. But again, there's still a lot of question marks because Marco Rossi, the package they got for Quinn Hughes was great. And they have a nice foundation moving forward, but they got draft and develop better because that was an issue under Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin. They didn't draft and develop well enough. Can they get these kids that come up from Abbotsford and everybody's like, oh, look what they did in Abbotsford. They won the Calder Cup. Yeah, that's great. But there was a lot of guys that were late 20s, early 30s. Like that's not what you're supposed to be doing in the AHL. It should be younger guys that should be winning a Calder Cup. Like if we're really being honest here in Vancouver. So I want to see what their farm system is, how they draft, how they develop. But I think the big question is who else is getting moved out because we heard a lot about Jake DeBrusk, heard a lot about, Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson. Like I think if you're going to go full rebuild, you just get the guys you want in there and move on from guys you don't.
Yeah, I think that's what they would like to do. The Elias Pettersson thing is just plain sad.
I mean, I love that kid when he got drafted. He won the Calder Cup Rookie of the Year, Calder Trophy, right? Like he was on a fast track to being one of the elite centers in the NHL. Had that 100-point season. Then things just like the year they made the second round, lost to Edmonton, right? Yeah, you had a lot of the butting heads with JT Miller in the locker room and stuff. And he had injuries and everything. But the thing with Vancouver is everybody was out the door until they weren't. I go back to the year of Miller. If the Vancouver Canucks knew that Miller and Pettersson were so toxic together, why did both guys get 8-year extensions?
Yeah, this is what it's from things I've heard and what lines up when you read the tea leaves. Elias Pettersson got the bag, got married to a model chick, and I think his father passed away too.
That's tough to deal with. Look, I get it.
And these are things that sometimes can have you want, like, hockey just doesn't seem to be as important as it was before. When you lose a family member, you start, especially your father, you just start maybe because NHL players usually, I mean, almost always, except for some freaks of nature that are just so natural, it don't matter. They practically give up their lives to get here, right? Like it's an obsession. And I think life kind of hit in a way for Elias that he started to realize that there was more to life than just hockey. And I've heard that his wife has a modeling business in Sweden, and he travels back and forth to Sweden a lot, even during the year. And then you have the Sedins and the manager kind of call him out for not being committed in the off season. Look, 2 years ago, they said, well, he gained 15 pounds of muscle. Well, you don't gain 15 pounds of muscle. You bulk up, how much of it was muscle and how much it wasn't. Yeah, and then he has a terrible year. Was that really 15 pounds of muscle, or did Pettersson just kind of screw it? I think that's more the latter than than anything. I think he's just lost his kind of edge that way, because I'm with you. I mean, I thought when this Miller and Pettersson thing came up and stuff that was going on, now I kind of get the idea that Miller saw it, and Miller's like this.
Miller can be like that type of jerk and stuff in the room, but he wants to push guys too. But he wants them because he's pushing guys because he knows they can be better than what they're showing.
Yeah. He's not pulling any punches though. And I think that happened, and then he was the captain, and then if he sees it
And
happening,
then
the
Quinn
way he
didn't want
went
to
about
deal
it,
with it, and he's like, "I want out of here because this is a circus."
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. But it tells me that Miller was probably on to
yeah,
something, is what I'm saying. And it was probably true. And now they've called him out over it this summer.
I think this is
And they can't get rid of him. They've tried to get rid of him for virtually nothing, and nobody
nobody.
wants. So everybody knows what's going
Nobody
on.
wants to take that contract on. You can't. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to pay the assets for Pedersen. At some point, you're
Hmm.
gonna have to eat it and say, "All right, we're gonna have to retain some money on it." You're gonna lose the trade no matter
Hmm.
what. You lost the Miller trade, right? It's unfortunate because
Yeah.
Hito's just injury prone. It's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
like they have good young pieces. Let Taramaki, I guess he's there, and yeah,
Lefanaki,
like he's
yeah.
a good player. The other Pedersen on D is good, right? They're getting their foundation what they want for the next generation of Canucks. And I think the fan base wanted it so much because you didn't want to be stuck in the mushy middle. It was 1 year it was good, 1 year it was bad, 1 year is good, want a draft pick, all this stuff. At some point they just need to be bad, right? And just be bad for a little bit, reset the thing, do do the Calgary model and just figure it out and move from there. And and hope
Yeah.
and hope the lady luck's on your side at some point when it comes to the draft lottery.
Yeah, I think the main thing that the focus really needs to be on the change of culture and environment there. That's the
Yeah,
first thing. They got to start putting band-aids on that environment. I think getting Gallagher is a really good.
right.
No, I love it.
But go
That's
back
good.
to I talked with people in Vancouver and fans that were out there and different people. They said the building was electric towards the end when the young kids were playing, and when they were out of it, they were
Yeah,
selling out the building. That's a good sign because
yeah,
the fan base knew the reset for this team is needed.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, if they embrace that, have fun because you're going to get some really good players
Yeah,
in there, and they're definitely going to be on the bottom of the barrel. I don't know anything about like as Malhotra as a coach seems like has good positive attitude, but positivity and creating a good environment. You mentioned Conroy. Is there anybody better at it than him
no,
right now? Like
no,
I
I love
love
Craig
Conroy.
Conroy. Love what Craig Conroy is
Just
doing in
love him.
in
Love him.
in Calgary. He had a couple seasons now where he moved off guys that just can't be there, right? Like it started a couple seasons ago with the Toffoli's, the Markstroms, like that group of players, the Tanevs, the Zadorovs, the Lindholm, that group of players. Then we saw last year Anderson got moved out. They finally moved off of Nazem Kadri, and Blake Coleman finally got traded this year. So they're doing a great job, and they have an excellent farm system, right? Like they have a lot of good young players coming through Calgary right now. I mean,
I guess we're going to talk
Oh,
about
you say
Calgary now.
you
Let's
wanna
keep
stay
on
with the
going.
nerdy teams. I mean, this is definition of nerdy
Yeah.
teams. If you really wanna get
Yeah.
down and dirty to it, this is a nerdy team. And to me, like, you got, like,
Yeah.
Zane Parek's there, right? They just added Simone Nemec, which is a great add in my opinion. I like the deal for him. I think it's a very reasonable deal. Like, the market was set with Brant Clark getting 7.4. He gets 7.25. Like, this is a solid deal for a defenseman that was being underutilized in New Jersey. It was crowded. Either Dougie Hamilton or him had to go. It was Nemec. They felt like it was time. He wanted to change the scenery. As much as he wanted to stay in New Jersey, I think both parties figured it was time. Let him go. Now he can develop with a guy like Kevin Ball out there, right? And the biggest head scratcher to me, though, in Calgary, though, as much as they have all this young talent coming, what the heck happened to Jonathan Huberdeau?
Oh, you want to really have me answer that
I
question?
mean,
Uh, Jonathan Huberdeau is the reason why I'm a Florida Panthers fan. When they made that trade, I bought in completely. I was working my way towards it when they got Reinhardt and stuff, and My heart was going there, and when they made that trade, Huberdeau was a floater that was completely living. He owes Barkov so
Yeah, he
much
probably
money; it
does.
is insane. He was a complete floater in Florida. He got away with murder, and he got a big head about him on top of it. Wanted 10 million sheets from them, and they're like, "Yeah, right, buddy. Barkov can barely stand you." So when Kachuk came up, then they said, you know what? They basically are dead in the water here. We can get rid of this real quick and make it. Calgary makes it look like Calgary got something in a bad situation. It worked out perfect. And I said when that deal was made, I said Huberdeau will go to absolute garbage. He already is. You're going to see what Huberdeau is in a especially with there was Sutter that was
Yeah,
there too. Sutter's going to freaking just destroy this guy. Actually, I'll give him this. He did become a better
he
defensive
did.
player in Calgary. Yeah, yeah. So I'll give him that. But I mean, that's what happened to him. He just wasn't. Points aren't everything. You can get 100 points and still not be a very effective player in the long run, especially when it comes to playoff time. There's several players I have that for. Nylander is one. There's a
Yeah.
couple players that yeah, sure. It's going to look great in the regular season. There's lots of times when you're going up against weaker teams in bad spots. A lot of teams aren't grinding it out. It's not the playoffs. There's a reason why they say the defense wins in the
Yep.
playoffs. And talk to me in the playoffs. You can be a regular season player like Skinner. There's a bunch of guys in the league that have been that. But when it comes right down to it, you're not floating in the playoffs too
No.
often. Who Nylander gets away with it because he's so incredibly skilled. He can put up some points, but for the most part, it's not going to be successful for
No.
success. And Toronto hasn't had success. Florida didn't have success. Bring in a guy like Kachuk, and boom, here you go, right? So but going back to it, like you said about Simone Nemec, I'm on the fence. I mean, the guy's got offensive talent. There's no doubt about it. The kid's got skill. I think he's a little stubborn on how he needs to play to be successful in the NHL. Growing pains, but if they figure it out
Well,
with
I
him,
like Ryan
I
Huska
mean,
as
you
a
can't
coach.
deny his shot. You can't deny his offensive ability for sure. It's just raw
Right,
right
and
now.
Ryan Huska's a good coach, and you got Dustin Wolf there, and you got Cooley and those guys, and Matt
Mm-hmm.
Vigridden, and they have so many young prospects coming, and Carson Carls, and that's another great draft pick that they've gotten, and the picks that they've gotten,
Yeah.
and the players that they've gotten through all these trades. Craig Conroy's done an excellent job reshaping the Calgary Flames to be successful when the new building opens.
Yeah, I mean the drafting has been seemingly fantastic. Like they've done really well as far as drafting is concerned. There, they got Matt Vigridden
Yeah,
too.
he's really
He's looked
good.
pretty good. Yeah, Matt Coronado, he's got a shot and he's still growing a
Same
little
with
bit. I think there's
Same
a
with
little
Connor Zary
improvement.
too. He's still growing a little bit in Calgary.
Yeah, he's growing into what I think his spot is here, a solid third
Yeah.
line guy, but there's nothing wrong with
No.
that. Problem with Zari is people had such high expectations for this kid. And, there was no reason, there's nothing wrong with a strong third line
No.
left winger.
There's
There's nothing
nothing
wrong
wrong
with it.
with that. And I think Sharangovich is gonna bounce back after his injuries and slumps. Like he's a good player for them. Their back end is really strong. I Craig Conroy deserves credit for reshaping this team.
Yeah, Devin Cooley, I think they got to move him though. That's not fair. He's too good. He's too good to be backing up
Yeah,
for
but
Dustin
sometimes you
Wolf, I
need
think.
that though for right now, considering you don't want to run Wolf into the ground.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, for his
Yeah.
sake, as a goaltender and wanting to, be the best he can be, eventually they're going to probably have to move on. And somebody's going to be very smart
Oh,
to pick him up too. That kid is
look
freaking good.
what that's why I think that's why Boston moved on from Corpusalo because they knew they couldn't make the same mistake with the kid. I think is it Michael DiPietro in their system. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
they made the mistake of not keeping Brandon Bussey in their system, and look what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, going back to it though, what I love about Conroy more than anything is there is a fantastic energy to this team. This guy gets it as far as the modern NHLer and the way they work. People that Coleman and Kadri said he hated leaving there because the organization is so good to their players, and that is in today's NHL. That is
Well,
incredibly
Uyghur said
important. You
the
see
same
what's
thing
going
too
on.
when he went to Utah.
Yeah,
And I don't
yeah,
think Conroy really wanted to trade Uyghur, but he got such a great offer from Utah that he went to Uyghur and was like, "This is what I got. What do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Like I almost wonder if somebody does that with White Cloud this season.
might be. Yeah, he has a way of
Right.
talking, and you just can't help but love
He's
him.
such a great guy. I've
And
talked to him a bunch of times. He's such a great guy. When he
have you?
comes to
Yeah,
New Jersey, when Flames
yeah,
come to New Jersey, I talk with this guy for hours. It's so good. Like you could talk with him for like 30 minutes and it feels like it doesn't feel like it's 30 minutes. It feels like, it's only been like 10 and you look at your watch and you've been talking for like 30 minutes and it's just he's so good
really.
at what he does. Like it
It's the middle of the summer. Maybe I'll reach out to him and see if I can
like
get him on.
he's
He's
a
fun.
good guy. Like he's very good. He
Yeah,
understands he understands the game, like you said, modern NHL. And I think everything's been
yeah.
in a plan in place for this new building.
But I mean, I think that's really important because you're starting to see in the league now that if there's disconnect in the organization and stuff like that, this generation doesn't really want to sit there too
No,
long in it. Larkin, you see that. I'm not saying that's the case with Werenski, but you hear like Larkin is just public. There's a lot of trades that happen for this very same reason. It just doesn't go public. Having a really good energy and a trusting kind of want players to
right.
trust you. Coleman, he could have traded last in at the deadline. And apparently he went to Coleman and Coleman said, what's really bad for my family right now. And he said, okay, that's it. Well, wait, I know we're going to get less, but it means more to Conroy to
But
do
yeah, I
that
think
and
it
send a
wasn't
player
Coleman's
off.
wife pregnant or just gave birth or
Was
something like
she? Yeah,
that. Something
something.
like that.
But there's a lot of managers that wouldn't
No,
have cared. They would have just did it anyways.
but that's
Yeah.
again, it's respect.
And
It's respect for the player.
right.
Again like that. Like again, it's similar to Kadri too. It's like everybody knew he wanted to go back to Colorado. They figured out a way to get it done.
And that's true. He did send him did get him where he wanted to go. And the thing that is what I think not enough general managers, or maybe it's growing in understanding now, that doing this, Calgary is going to be good in 4 years or whatever it is. They're going to need guys to fill in holes and free agents. And these guys out there talk. And when you got the Conroys and Kadri saying, man, you'll love it there, they treat you like gold, that's a step up for being able to acquire somebody, especially in Canada where the taxes are high, cold weather, all that kind of stuff like that. Sometimes that is the bump. Like people will go there if they think you're an a-hole or have problems. Why would I want to go to Calgary? So I love the guy. I think he's doing a fantastic job there in Calgary. I think Calgary might even do better than people think.
We'll see.
On paper it doesn't, but they're going to outwork
There's no
teams in
doubt
certain
about it.
spots.
Like you know what you're gonna get from Calgary. And my final point on them is you know what you're getting from them every night.
Yeah,
You're not gonna outwork them. They may not score a lot,
yeah,
but you're not outworking them.
right. All right, we'll continue on with the Geek Fest. We'll finish the last couple that are more likely playoff, but we'll continue on with the Geek Fest over to Seattle. Let's go over to Seattle. Now, I'll quickly say something about Seattle that I thought they were doing when they got a lot of these more veteran players in the expansion draft, and they actually signed some. I thought because it was thought that 2026 and 2027 were some of the deepest drafts that you were going to find. I thought they were getting these guys and they were going to sell off and get a whole bunch of 2026-7 picks and do this upright. And I thought wrong. And now I'm confused. So help me out here. What's going on with Seattle?
Well, you mentioned it, right? Expansion draft. I think they mismanaged the expansion draft, right? No one was ever going to be Vegas. No one was ever going to do what Vegas did, right? Stars were aligned for when Vegas came into the league. But I think the worst thing that happened to Seattle was making it to the second round, their second year in the league, because all they've done is taken steps backwards, and they're really not improving. Like, I go back to the trade deadline last year. You had assets to move. You had Eli Tolvanen, Alexiak, Jaden Schwartz. Obviously Eberle was going to stay. So, but you had assets to move, and you didn't do anything with them. Everybody's like, "Oh, well, they were in playoff contention." Were they really? They weren't really in playoff contention. I just saw the Detroit Tigers just give away a player to the Dodgers, and they're 2.5 games back. So don't tell me the Seattle Kraken were in contention for a playoff spot, because they weren't. They had chances to get assets for players and didn't do it. And now Eli Tolvanen is still unsigned, which is crazy to me because I think he's a really good player. And I thought he was really good for that team. But they've mismanaged so many guys. Morgan Geekie, like, why are we not giving this guy a qualifying offer? And then he goes to Boston and is starting to go off. The decision-making by management, again, we talked about decision-making. Calgary decision-making really good. Edmonton's and not so much. Vancouver, we'll see. Jury's still out. Seattle decision-making by management has gotten them into this point, right? I'm not sold on Jason Botterill. I think they really needed to move on from Ron Francis. Too many changes. But Matty Beniers hasn't really taken the steps that he needs to take. Yeah, you got Mackie Semiskevich from Florida, but you knew Florida was going big game hunting somewhere. This team is just not good enough. They're at the bottom of a mushy middle, and that's what they are.
Yeah. What's the identity of Seattle? Like, when you think of Seattle, do you think of like staunch defensive team? No. Do you think of fast team? No. What do you there's they didn't establish an identity. And I think part of the issue was ownership was pretty clear. I mean, the fans pay the highest prices in the league, I believe, for tickets. It's unbelievable. And I think ownership said, look, I want a manager that's going to get us in the playoffs right away. I want to be able to sell a product here, so I'm not losing money. I think that had something to do with the direction that they went with, and they've drafted not too bad. They have, in the spots that they've been. I don't mind that Berkeley Catton kid, and except for Shane Wright, which was, I didn't like that. I know that he was supposed to go higher, but something rubbed me wrong with that kid right from the get-go. And I think his attitude.
And I think they're going to try to figure a way to move on from him. I think they got to get, and they got to. Yeah. We'll see who they get, but the issue is nobody wants to go there because they're not winning. And again, I don't want to hear about no state income tax, but the millionaire tax is coming in a little bit.
Yeah, 22% on the millionaire tax.
But again, guys don't want to go there right now because they don't win. They're not a good team.
Yeah. They get some guys, like they got Brandon Montour, good for Mackie Semiskevich to have an opportunity.
Look, and didn't they just re-sign Bobby McMahon too, right? All right, fine.
Why?
Yeah, but again, you look at it to me, and I just go back to the Chandler Stevenson contract. That's just a bad contract to give out to a player like that. That's not it. That was an awful contract. Yeah. But again, Ron Francis, what did he do in Carolina to justify being the general manager and president of hockey operations in Seattle?
Yeah, Adam Larson's really gone downhill too.
Vince Dunn is there. Like they
Ryan Lindgren, what the heck was that? I mean, he's terrible, dude. I don't. Yeah, this is bad.
And then you hear the owner at the end of the year saying we're gonna have an internal audit of everything. It's like this team is about to be in rebuild mode, and you're an expansion franchise, and you're going into okay. I guess that playoff run didn't happen because we're just as bad as any expansion team pre the expansion rules.
And they have a really good opportunity to go to now, I would say. I don't know. I mean, I think their fan base is fine. I really do.
Right.
Seattle's not a bad hockey town. It's really close to Canada, but it's going to get worse if they don't embrace here right this year. I would say Kako gone, Eberle gone. Like you signed Bobby McMahon though. I don't no trade clause all the way through except for the last 2 years. What are you doing here? He's 30 years old. What was the point of this deal? I they gave up good assets for him. You could probably get good assets for Jared McCann. It's time. It's not really time to tear it down. It's time to start what you should have been starting already. I get the idea that you got the veterans. If you use them for picks, then great. Then you got a killer rebuild. I do agree. When they came in, the first 2 drafts that they were going through weren't the greatest. Matthew Beniers, he's a second liner, not a first liner, and he's always going to be, but he's a good shutdown center. Now is your opportunity. There's some really solid players at the top. It's time to do it now, man. There's no screwing around anymore.
No, and I thought they did pretty well in the draft this year.
They're drafting well.
Yeah, but they got to develop
and and you got I think the idea here, and when we're going to go to the next team after this, I have a theory on it. I did an article for the Hockey News for the next team we're going to go into. I think the idea in a lot of their minds here is when they get these young players, they want these. You got to beat out it's kind of old school, and I kind of don't. I think it's an old school mentality that does make sense and still works today. You have these veterans here. If you're a young player, if you can't beat out that veteran, you're not ready. And that's kind of, I think, what they were doing here. And the veterans like Chandler Stevenson, I guess, is like he could be a motivational speaker when he's done. He's like we call him the spiritual reach around.
Yeah.
So not great on the ice, but pretty good off the ice. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we call him. It is a bad contract, but they build having veterans there to help kids build character, learn how to be a professional. All that stuff makes sense, but they just got too many. Do you need that many to do that?
No.
It's time to start building this up, or they're going to be in the mushy middle forever. Like,
long time in Seattle.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. That's the way I'm looking at now. Missed the playoffs this year. Hopefully 100%. For their sake, they are way missed the playoffs. But, Vancouver and Calgary there, and not there, better to be in a better division. They'll probably do what they did last year. They work hard as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a hard-working team. They're going to win games just by their work ethic. But by game 60, although their legs are dead, because you're not supposed to have to work that hard in the regular season to make the playoffs. You're
supposed to progress through the regular season to find your playoff form.
That's right.
Before the playoffs.
There's spots, like if you watch Florida, like this year, what they'll do when they're playing bad teams like Seattle, they'll play like a perimeter type game, stay away from physicality, and just barely beat them 3-2 with a 4-2 empty netter.
Yeah.
That's when you're good. That's what you want to do, so you got more juice for the playoffs. Teams like Seattle, even if they make the playoffs, they're dead. They're done. It's over. Yeah. All right. So the next team I was talking about that I did do an article on, based on the Trouba and Nurse pickup. Which I put a positive spin on in my article, actually, but I'll let you fly with it. I mean, when you look at those forwards now on that roster, it's this Celebrini kid, man.
Dude, unbelievable, this kid, man. You can't teach what he got, man. This kid, generational, what he did in college, coming into the league. Like, this kid's unbelievable on a different level. Like, we talked about it before, right? Like, you got Crosby to McDavid to Celebrini. Like, that's the lineage right now. Like, that's what we got going. Just honored to watch him. Like, this kid's unbelievable. San Jose locked him up 5 years, $18.8 million on a new contract extension. Like, that's a great deal for him, a great deal for the team. He understands the business, wants to make the team, keep the team competitive. I'm also going to be positive on the San Jose Sharks defensive side of things because I'll say this. I think for me, when it comes to the San Jose Sharks, I like the Darnell Nurse ad. I think for me, the biggest thing is now let's see if we can get a Keandre Miller situation out of Darnell Nurse in San Jose. Lower expectations now, right, for him. He's not in a bubble anymore. I think you need veterans on that back end too to get into a playoff spot. I think their D was pretty young last year, but that team is only progressing under Ryan Warsofsky. That's how you do it. Like, you talk about coaches that fit teams. You look at Martin St. Louis in Montreal. You look Ryan Warsofsky in San Jose. Patience, right? The San Jose Sharks are taking a page out of the Canadiens' playbook when it comes to building a team, understanding the rebuild, and getting through it. There were some tough days, right? And the ping pong, the balls fell for them in the lottery this year to get Stenberg. You get Verhoff. Like, their draft this year was unbelievable. Ryan Lynn too. Like, this team's going to be so good, and they have a nice mix of veterans and young players on that team. I think this team's going to be really good. Like, adding Kesselring, Orlov's there. Your goaltending is pretty solid. If they can lock down it defensively and figure out a way to play a little bit better defense, there's no reason this team can't be in the playoffs next year.
Yeah. You mentioned their veterans that they picked up, and you want to see a team that I love Mike Guerrero, what he's done with this team. And one of the biggest ones you mentioned, the veterans that they picked up. He specifically went out and got veterans that know how to play full sheet. They know how to play 3-zone defensive hockey. And for forwards, to teach these kids, because most of the kids coming out of junior, you don't learn systems like you do in the NHL. It's a whole nother level. Most junior coaches are like, you can score, kid, go out and score. That's just the way it is. So it's a big adjustment to be able to do that. When you got Michael Wenberg, one of the better defensive centers in the league for a while, underrated. Like, he's not like a lead or anything, but he's very good and he's a very smart player. That's a perfect guy to pick up for these young players. Like, that's what you're doing. Not like in Detroit where you're getting like Sherratt and crap. Like, just like,
you're picking up the right players,
the right veterans that can help you have an identity on your team. Tyler Toffoli, same thing. I thought that was a fantastic pickup.
Oh, the Toffoli signing was unbelievable.
Yeah, great pickup. And then now you've got Celebrini last year. I'm an analytics guy. He went bump up defensively on top of his 115 points. Like, I don't have enough praises for this kid, man. He's going to be. He's just. I said it before. I'm not putting him there yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll be putting him ahead of McDavid here before it's all over, man. At 20 years old with
this kid is unbelievable. I mean, look, if the Sharks had gotten in, he's winning the Hart Trophy last year. Like, hands down, he would have ran away with it. Like, but the way McDavid carried Edmonton at the end with no Draisaitl, like, carried him in, and then they fell off a little bit. But even still, he was in my top 3 for Hart and stuff. So, like,
I'm never going to argue with McDavid or anything. Like, that's.
But this
fine.
team has improved. You added Marchment, another scorer.
Like, I thought Marchment was another great example. Another guy that can play a full sheet. He's heavy. They needed some size.
Like, remember when Mike Greer got criticized for all the trades that he made and the assets that he got back? And it's like, oh, these are underwhelming. He's really turned his team around, like, really quickly. Like, really quickly.
And we'll see how Ivor does there on the, the thing is the team right now is built so well that if Ivor Stenberg does kind of stumble out of the gates a bit, it's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
And that was the luxury of drafting 2 this year. You can move off of Eklund, right? You still got Smith. You still got
Yeah.
Stenberg. You still got, who's the other kid I'm missing? Oh, Misa's there. It's like you got
Yeah.
talent on this team.
Graf
Just got signed.
Excellent. 4.2. Who would you rather have, Colton Sissons or Colin Graf?
Colin Graf, like
exactly. And then you got, the character guys, Barclay Goodrow and Ostapchuk. And Adam Gaudette does pretty well down there in the bottom. Like, that is one solid.
They added Kiefer Sherwood last year. Let's not forget about
and
that.
Kiefer Sherwood, can't forget about that as well. Hard hitting, yeah.
This is a solid team, top to bottom. I'm sorry. Solid team.
I wouldn't. I don't know what you're getting on for them to win the Pacific, but throw it on there if it's a decent price. I'd have to take a look at it. There's no.
I would suspect it's close to that Utah number that you picked up.
I'll take a look at it while we're talking about our next team while you're talking. But so I did an article on the Darnell Nurse Trouba pickup, and they took a lot of heat for this. And yes, I agree, Trouba's not a number one. I don't know how he would do in a lesser role because everybody keeps giving him a greater role than he really is worthy of getting. But he's a right D. He can skate at his best. Last year, he had a horrible year. At his best, he can drive play a little bit. He does stick up for his teammates. No doubt about that. And that's going to be important with all these young players. Trouba's going to be banging some heads out there probably. I agree with you. I think Darnell Nurse is going to do much better in San Jose when he's out of the spotlight. That was a terrible spotlight there. Man, he was taking shit and abuse there.
I mean, look, like let's call a spade a spade. He's not a $9 million defenseman. Good on him. Good on him and his agent to get that money from Ken Holland when Ken Holland was the GM of the Edmonton Oilers.
He's an average number one or number two, an average number two, I should say.
Right.
And he's getting paid way too much money, but he's not as bad as people say he is. Unfortunately for Darnell, though, we talked about the poor depth that they had there. He was playing with those players most of the time because Bouchard got all the prime stuff with McDavid, and he would look up, and these guys were clueless on the ice. Like he's not an elite guy. He's not a guy that can really, make something out of nothing. But if you're there and he can pass it to you, he's not bad, and he can skate it out, and he's big, and he plays pretty solid positionally. The guy can't block shots to save his freaking life. Like, stop it with them. I've never seen a guy worse. I've never seen a guy that is so willing to block shots and so bad at it.
I think Warsofsky and his staff will help him with block shots, and Trouba will help him with that and understanding. Hopefully. But again, the Sharks they're a good team.
But blocking shots is only one thing. His overall game, unfortunately, it's an eye test thing. And he was just taking so much of a beating.
I don't think he was as bad. I agree. I don't think he was as bad as
nowhere near as bad.
But there were nights where he got exposed defensively.
Last year, he was absolutely horrible. I think it just finally all came down on it. His confidence was shot, and maybe his even will to be there. Because I lived in Edmonton for years. And there's no more assholes there than there are in any other city necessarily, but it's only about 1 million people, and the assholes that there are huge hockey fans, and they treat these guys like crap. Like, they'll yell at you while you're with your family in a restaurant. That's how bad it is, dude. They can be very disrespectful. That happened with Skinner. He asked to be traded out, and Lucic, he just got absolutely grilled. And I think it just finally got on Nurse after a while.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with him in San Jose. I expect a better season from him, though.
I do too. And I don't know. They got to get somebody. This Luca Cagnoni kid. I don't know. He's like he didn't really put up great numbers, but who knows? Maybe they know something I don't. Here's one thing I will say. I trust Greer and his staff.
Yeah, me too.
So if they say he's ready to play, probably is. I think Sam Dickinson's going to be excellent. He started at 19. I mean, he's big. He's got a great pass.
Defensemen just develop differently than forwards.
Yeah. But my whole point was Nurse and Trouba too, to go back to that, was They're the perfect guys that I was saying with Seattle. If you can't beat them out, you're not ready. But they're not taking a spot from these kids either. Like Sam Dickinson, there's a spot for you there, dude. We're not blocking your spot. Take your time. We have these guys. When you're ready, you'll take them over. And whoever else they might bring in can go there without feeling like I've heard now in the draft, there's players telling their agents, if you've already got like a top number one right D and they want to be that, they're telling their agent, I'm not sure I want to go to here. Could you talk to him a little bit? Like, I wouldn't mind if I dropped. It's not really where I'm going to be my happiest because I want to be a top pairing defenseman. And they got, say, Lacombe, right? And he's going to be that top pairing, and I'm going to get not paid as much because they're going to treat me like a second pairing. And that sort of thing right here is going on quite a bit right now, and it makes sense. Yeah. So this opens those spots for Verhoff, great pickup. They drafted well again. I mean, there's just this. If anybody's doing it right, it's Greer here and his staff. They're just doing fantastic, top to bottom, I would say.
Absolutely, no, I agree with that. I think they're just playing. They're doing everything right, and they're playing well on the ice, and they got a good coach. And they've accelerated that quote unquote rebuild. They were bad when they needed to be bad, and they got a generational player out of it.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Smith and Chernyshov.
This team is loaded. Loaded.
They're gonna have to do something with some of these guys probably down the road, but this year, I don't know. This team could just run away with the Pacific. It seriously could.
Really. They could. Yeah.
All right. What have we not got to yet?
SoCal. We got to go to Southern California.
Oh, Anaheim and LA yet, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go with the big news of the summer, the shocker. Go with the Ducks and how Verbeek handled that situation. I have my theory on that, but I'm going to give you this. What can they do with their D? How much do you know about these young players that they have there? And how much do you really think affects this? Does it affect them? I'm positive you will, if I ask you, should they have matched that, what you will say, but you can answer that as well. What about Anaheim and all of these things that went on with them for the summer this year?
Well, here's the thing with the Anaheim Ducks, right? Like, I think Pat Verbeek put himself in this situation with the negotiations over the last couple of years with guys like Mason McTavish and Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale and the holdouts that happened going to training camp. Now, obviously, Zegras and Drysdale in Philadelphia, they got new contracts. McTavish was just traded to St. Louis. Then you had the Leo Carlsson offer sheet. Look, the truth always lies somewhere in the middle, right? Leo Carlsson last year said in a fan Q&A, he's like, I would sign for 8 times 9.5. Apparently the team went to him and his agent and presented 8 times 10.5. The agent said they were waiting for the market because the Bedard was out there, all these guys, Fantilli, like the trio of the class of 2023, that draft class, was waiting for the other guy. If 8 times 10.5 was really presented and like those other numbers were presented, surprised it didn't get done. But again, Leo Carlsson feels like he's their best player on the team. He's not wrong. Maybe there was a little bit mismanagement. He had that load management going on in his rookie year with the games played and how they were putting him into the NHL. But he saw the negotiations and he knew it could have been a long one. I mean, look, he even said it, when you get $18 million a season presented to you, you're going to sign it, right? 99% of us are signing that thing. It just threw a monkey wrench into the internal cap of Anaheim because they lost so many guys. They lost the Trubas. They lost the Carlsons on the back end. Then I don't know if they overpaid for Mitnyakov, but they had to pay him 7.2 because of the Brandt Clark deal in LA, the Simone Nemec deal in Calgary. no Owen Zellweger. They traded him to Buffalo, right? No Radko Gudas. They got, Hellison's on the back end. They're going to ask a lot of young players. I like the addition of Nick Jensen's there. They have a lot of young players on the back end, but Verbeek's negotiating skills cost him with Leo Carlson. It really did.
Yeah, I think it probably did early, but I also think that it's very possible that his agent knew this was coming.
Oh,
Somewhere along the line here, he knew. So they started dragging their heels. The question is, when did they start dragging their heels? When did this come up? Because like they talk, man. Agents talk.
I
To
mean, I
managers.
think around the draft, everybody knew he was getting an offer sheet come July 1st since he wasn't signed.
Yeah. Well, they knew then, but I think it was long before then.
I think they knew before the end of the season too, right?
Yeah. So they started dragging their heels whenever it was. I would be fascinated to find out how much agents talk to other general managers, or how, because there's ways to talk to each other. There's ways to do things. I would be fascinated to find out, but I think that Verbeek kind of got in a bit of a situation there. And but I would agree with you in the sense that other general managers have been smart enough, the Montreal Canadiens, Carolina Hurricanes, to get these deals done quick. Like, they saw the writing on the wall here. They were like,
I mean, look at the contracts Montreal has. Like, everybody's under 10 million. Dimidov just got extended right away. Like, Lane Hudson's is going to have probably the best value contract in the league, and I know his agent doesn't want me to say that on, YouTube and Twitter and everybody, but everybody knows Lane Hudson's already underpaid and is already one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, like, what Kent Hughes is doing there is great. What Pat Verbeek's doing, now he's in a salary cap bind. Like I said, he overpaid for Mintyukov. He doesn't have Zellweger back there. You lost Gudas. You lost Trouba Carlson, right? They're going to have to rely on Tyson Hines back there as well. It's a young D, Drew Hellison. It's a very, very young D. But the big question is when is Gauthier going to get signed? Because you have a little over $9 million to play with. He's going to want 12 or 13, maybe even 15, because he's a 40-goal scorer on a 5-6 year deal. You got to move at least somebody like Chris Kreider, Alex Colon, or Frankie Vitrano to make this work. I always say this, and I just put an article out today or the other day about this situation. I've talked to executives and around the league and some agents. They say good general managers sign the player and figure out the rest later. If you try to do it in reverse, you always get burnt.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we talked about on their last show about the value of players and realizing the value of players. Because you mentioned with their defense here, that's without injuries.
Right.
I mean, if Lacombe goes down in that freaking
yeah, I forgot to mention Lacombe. Like, he got paid to get $9 million, and he goes down. That defense is
done.
Not good.
I don't mind Minty. I think Mintyukov is going to be a good defenseman, but he's still on the raw side. And 8. What did they pay? 7-7 or something like that.
7-2 over 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could play himself into that contract. I don't think it's absolutely totally disastrous, but the defense could be in a very bad spot right now. I mean, the Hins. What, you got Hellison up on the top right? That is not good. It's the defense. All I got to say is this: Quenneville it's got to start this year, and maybe I'm talking myself into Anaheim really struggling this year, because what has got to happen this year is the forwards have got to help the defense.
Yeah, they have to. They have to.
They can't fly the zone crap like they were doing all year last year.
And they took advantage of a bad division.
And you can do that in the regular season. You can get away with it, but not.
And they took advantage of it. And they took advantage of an Oilers team that wasn't that good.
And beat up real bad.
Right, and then you saw what happened against Vegas.
Yeah.
Though they made it competitive, but
Yeah. No, you can get away with that in the regular season if you've got an average, at least average defense. This ain't that. I mean, if
no, you
this
don't
is,
have Trouba, you don't have Gudis, you don't have Carlson.
it's it's going to be they need to come back. They need to start playing a system. They can't play the swarm system like they're basically playing here and have success, or they're going to be winning. If they win, it's going to be like 8-6. Feel sorry for
Stall, I
Dostal.
mean, he's such a good goalie, but
yeah, they're going to be playing some high. All I know is I'll be betting the overs with Anaheim games moving forward. I think they probably will make it. Maybe they can find a way. They got to either move Killorn, that Vetrano contract. Boy, oh boy,
isn't most of that money deferred anyway?
Yeah, it's way down. I know, but still, it's like they gave him the bag in a way for what he was, and then it seems like he just, I'm good now. He got the bag and just lied. He's horrible. He's terrible.
And look, Gauthier, they got to get him signed.
Yeah, he's going to get about probably 14, 15, something like that, somewhere around there. You're going to be looking at 30-some million, and you got to build a team around that.
And then you got to pay Beckett Seneca next year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a top-heavy team here.
This offer sheet just threw a monkey wrench in everything in Anaheim right now.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if Philadelphia was like, look, if we can't have nice things, you can't have it either. And he meant that with the league. Yeah. Because now he just blew the number one price for a number one right out the window. They're likely not going to be able to get one. So they're like, okay, fine.
And they kind of hurt themselves with Porter Martone now, too, because he's going to want over $10 million.
Yeah, they are. But you might as well make the rest of the league hurt if you're going to not be able to pick up that number one. And I think that's maybe what he was doing here. Like,
it's clear. It's clearly clear that's what he did, because I'm very shocked that Fantilli's not signed yet in Columbus.
Yeah.
I know this is a Pacific Division show, but everything kind of ties into that contract.
Maybe we'll have you on for the Metro, because the Metro is very interesting division. For sure.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. All right. And now, finally, I think LA is the last one, right? We're into LA. We didn't miss anybody now?
We got LA. Yeah, we got everybody. We got all the nerdy teams.
All right. Let's look at the LA Kings. And I haven't really talked much about the LA Kings this year, so I'm just gonna not even give you a segue into it. Just tell me right from the get-go. What do you got?
Typical Ken Holland built team, right? A lot of veterans, a lot of older players. Got to try to compete with the Dodgers in LA. Got to keep making the playoffs. I just don't think they're a playoff team this year. I really don't. I mean, Matt Zuccarello's there, great. First year Laviolette again is a thing. But I don't know if it's going to be a thing in LA. You got Panarin, you kept Lawton, right? Last year, Drew Doughty. Is this a Jonathan Quick situation where they move on from him and that's it? Or does he sign for less? It's clearly Brant Clark's defense now. He got paid 5 times 7.4. But who's their center? Like, Byfield's got to take a step this year, right? I know you didn't have Kempe last year. That would really hurt that injury in the Olympics, because this team is a different team, right? Oh, no, I'm Fiala. I'm sorry. Kevin Fiala got hurt. They had Kempe, but Fiala got hurt in the Olympics. I mean, they can score. Can they defend? It's an older team. I'm just not sold on LA making playoffs this year. I'm really not.
I wouldn't surprise me if they miss. It wouldn't surprise me.
Like, they're number one. I just don't know who they got down the middle.
Well, I guess they're going to try Kempe there. That's what I've heard. But
I know you got Byfield's got to take over the number one, though.
Kempe, I heard Kempe's going to play number one with Zuccarello and Panarin, and Byfield's going to play number two. Now, Byfield's a really good shutdown center. He's excellent that way. But Holla, the only thing I say, the one thing that has me kind of, Laviolette is a really, really, really good coach. It's just he can get a team going real quick. if they weren't in the Pacific, I wouldn't even be a question. Is there other division that LA is making the playoffs in? No, I don't think so.
I don't think
It's
so.
only the Pacific. They
Maybe
got to
the
be
Metro. Maybe the Metro.
maybe I don't know.
Maybe the Metro. Maybe the Metro.
Yeah, I mean, look at that D, man. Like CC Edmondson has been going downhill. I mean, he's been bad for a while. It's
a typical, like I said, it's a typical Ken Holland constructed team. And
yeah,
Corey Perry's back in LA. Like,
yeah. The more I think about
it's a
it,
lot of old and slow. It's a lot of old and slow.
yeah. And I just Laviolette's and okay, but Laviolette's a 1-3-1 with a man-on-man D. So it doesn't really change anything from the killer that was there before him.
Or it doesn't change with like the Daryl Sutter days and who else was there before Hiller? Who the heck was there before him? They played the same way over and over and over.
The only
again.
difference is they play collapse defenses. He plays a man-on-man into a 1-3-1. It's kind of similar to Carolina. I just don't know if they got the speed to play that man-on-man down there.
They don't.
Like,
and Zuccarello gonna stay healthy.
Zook, he's 39. He's 39, right?
Yeah.
Zook, yeah. Things could definitely go south here. And Kemper, a horrible year last year.
Does he bounce back?
Forsberg was really his career year last year.
Well, he carried them into the playoffs last year.
Right. So, yeah, I could see it. Anaheim makes it over LA. LA misses.
San Jose definitely can make them over LA.
Oh, San Jose, I think, could win the division. San Jose,
and we're not even factoring the Central teams that could knock LA out of a wild card spot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Central, I mean, St. Louis.
St. Louis are going to be better.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That would suck for I maybe I'm putting a little too much faith in Laviolette. He can do really good things.
I mean, look, like I said, we said first year Laviolette is a thing, but I just don't know, and I think this team
might be biting off more than he could chew. I knew he was in the Rangers, but mostly because what a terrible place for a coach to go to in that culture for the Rangers. But
that culture was awful in New York for them. They got to a conference final, outperformed their analytical numbers.
Oh yeah, 5-on-5, they were a terrible team that kept on doing it. I just couldn't believe it. I took them the year before to miss, and they won the Presidents, I think it was, and people were laughing at me. And I went right back at it the second year. I said, there's no way you can be this bad at 5-on-5 hockey and continue to keep on just getting high shooting percentages like this. It was insane. So that's what he's going to need in LA too. He's going to have a really he's going to have to really have the energy working really well there. Yeah, St. Louis is excellent at that. The good thing about Montreal is even if they don't have their best game, St. Louis creates an energy there where they just pick corners. They just like it. They play that right kind of loose that even if they
just got to learn how to score a little bit more in the playoffs.
Well, I think they got to learn how to do a few things. I think their overall game, in a lot of ways, they survive on talent quite a bit, and they're hopefully this year they learn you got to stick to a system and play and learn how to play it, because once it comes playoff time, if you're playing the same team for 7 games, you better have a plan, because they will, and they shouldn't beat Tampa Bay. They should not have beat Tampa Bay.
Not that way. They beat them in 7, not being outshot and only having 9 shots and winning that game. No,
I don't think they should have won the series in general, but certainly not that game. Buffalo, okay, that was a little different, but anyways, we're switching over divisions here all the time.
But a lot of it ties in, if you think about it, around the league. A lot of ties in what happened in Montreal, San Jose, what Anaheim's done with teams around the league. Like everybody's like, oh, you could take it. Ken Holland, a lot of these older general managers say, well, rebuilds take 10 years. Does it? If you get the right personnel in place, the right people in place, and you draft and develop, You
And
can do
start at
it
the right time.
and start at the right time.
Start at the right time. That's the main thing. You could, like St. Louis, look at they drafted extremely well, never really did rebuild. And then they went and got Broberg and Holloway, like brilliant. And really, a lot of teams would have been deep rebuild. St. Louis was getting older. They're, having to move a lot of players, but they kept their first round pick. If you ever notice with St. Louis,
Yeah.
they keep their first round draft pick every single year, and they nail it a lot.
They have they just hired a really good guy too for their department. So it's gonna be St. Louis will be good. But like the Pacific is crazy. I don't know if it's gonna be the pillow fight division as it was last year. Should be a little bit more competitive. But man, there's so many question marks around so many teams in that division.
Yeah. Okay. Well, LA, the more I talk to you, the more I'm kind of leaning that they missed this year too.
Yeah.
And I think I don't do this very often, but sometimes I do have an emotional bone in me every once in a while. And Laviolette is one of my emotional bones. And maybe I might be playing a little bit of bias there for him to get in there. But the more I think about it, if Forsberg goes down, they're screwed. If Clark gets hurt, they're screwed. If they lose a centerman,
they're screwed.
Yeah, so I would definitely bet against it. That's for sure. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to say San Jose to win the division, right?
Yeah.
We'll exit on that. I'll take a look here. San Jose to win the division. Division. There we go. Plus 850.
That's not a bad number.
Now, mark me down for that. Plus 850.
That's not a bad number.
I'm taking it. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
And LA to miss the playoffs, I don't think you're getting a very good number on that. But
no, it's probably like +2.
Later on, as it goes on, you'll be able to take exact positioning and get a much better number. That's what I'll probably do. But I'll give it to you anyways. To miss the playoffs.
I would say like 200-300
It's
range.
plus 150.
That's not that's like nothing.
It's nothing to do there. Anyways, Jim, thank you very much for coming in, my friend. We were on Puck and Deep there a little while ago. Be watching for Puck and Deep. But Jim, tell them what your week is like or everything you're doing there. Tell them about your website, which I now enjoy. I got myself in that. Everybody, it's a really good. I would highly recommend you go check it out. His website and everything. Tell them all about it, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Pearl. Go follow me on Substack. Full Press Media is the Substack. Please, follow along for great articles. I'm trying to keep up throughout the summer. It's always tough to find some things, but when you find something, your niche, and you find something, you always want to write it down. Got some new articles out this week about Nashville, the latest rumblings around the league. Probably another one we'll do probably either this week or beginning of next week. All depends on Fantilli when things are going to come around. But looking at the RFA guys that aren't going to be signed yet, please check that out. I have them linked on my X at Jim Biringer, so please follow along there. Full Press Hockey up on YouTube as well. Just dropped the video this morning, so please check that out. Subscribe to that channel as well. Full Press NHL on Twitter. Follow me also on Instagram if you want. Jersey Jim 33. I have some fun there. Nightcap recap there as well. So just trying to keep up with everything, and NHLrumors.com is another website that I write for. So please check that out as well. And you can hear me with Pearlo. You can hear me on Puck and Deep, Sirius XM, TSN in Montreal, everywhere. Yeah, I'm everywhere these days.
Hang off out there. Jesus. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, great stuff, man. Like I said, Puck and Deep, we just did great Puck and Deep with Lyle Richardson from the Hockey News. Fantastic. And we will be doing another one here this week with probably a surprise guest. And if you still do it, you can still get it for $100. You can get all my NHL picks next year. $100 for a whole year. That's it.
pretty good.
Yeah, you can't get any better than that, dude. I don't like to rake people over. I like people to make money and have fun. So for $100, you can go over to my Pearlos NHL POW. My winnable is highlighted up on top, and you can sign yourself up there. Ask me for it's Perlo, or use promo code Hymes12. That's it. Thank you, Jim. Catch you next time when I feel like 8:00 with whatever guest, maybe Larry, maybe the Max there again. You never know. Surprise you all the time, but they'll always be good and we'll always have fun. That's my full 42, boys and girls. Talk to you next time. Okay.